base count, I think Fantasy's actually only at 3 bases, whereas Leta's actually at 4. May I say that? Actually, Leta actually is ahead. Yeah, that's Fantasy's. Okay, well, Fantasy is actually on 5 bases, but only mining at 3. Leta is mining at 4. So right now, Leta is doing better in terms of actual intake. Let's not count him out of the game yet. Certainly, having fewer units is something that is a deficit that disappears quickly over time when you have a slightly stronger economy. It just evens out over time. Fantasy now has, because of his delays in pushing up this ramp on the left side, he's not going to be able to do it. I mean, those SCVs have been busy repairing that burning command center forever, and Fantasy has not moved up. I mean, I just don't understand his delays. I think now he is going to drop, though, and if Leta can't defend, doesn't matter how many heroics he's pulled in the defense so far. If he can't defend against a major drop, he's gonna lose here. He's gonna lose his base. Fantasy actually has gone for the upper right. He's going to take out a small group of Leta's forces pretty effortlessly there. And we're going to have to see what happens. Leta just desperately wants to hold that, that command center at all cost. And right now, we're seeing basically both players just trying to outplay, outmaneuver each other. Basically, it's out down to tactics. No more, build order differences. Fantasy, wow. Going to lose a small group of forces now, and Leta going once again for this upper left. This is going to cost Fantasy a lot, because Fantasy is going to lose all of his SCVs once again. Leta trying to take out this base. He's not going to be able to. Fantasy drops all over it. Oh no, but a huge mine. Oh, another huge mine, killing all the units. I mean, friend and foe there. So both players losing sizable chunks of their army. Really, you cannot call that a victory for either players' armies. I guess Leta won that battle, though, because he killed the SCVs. Fantasy still unable to go up that left side. Man, at one point, remember, he had 1 tank defending. Leta did, and Fantasy really could have taken it out. Fantasy now going for a 6 command center, but that's not going to help him if he can't mine. Leta dropping, but this time he doesn't actually lose all of his dropships, unlike last time. Fantasy really needed to unsiege those tanks, and Leta has broken his siege at the bottom left. The siege that lasted forever. Somebody just killed that damn Wraith. Fantasy has killed like 4 dropships with that Wraith, I bet. It's ridiculous. Now Fantasy finally going for harassment on a command center that he might actually take down. Going for the right side. Leta has just pretty much 1 or 2 bases mining his expansion on the left side. Fantasy may have maybe 2 or 3 mining right now. But Fantasy is going to take out this right side, and that will certainly hurt Leta. That will, deny him a 3rd working base here. And Fantasy is definitely, I would say, in the lead still, even though he's made a couple of errors in the last few minutes. I felt like he had a chance to close the game out about 5 minutes ago, and he wasn't able to do it. Man, that girl is scared. Think about the other 2 players, though. Movie, a Protoss player, probably Fantasy would do better against Movie, whereas Leta would probably do better against Jaedong. Fantasy has shown that he's very good, but just almost. I mean, well, actually, frankly, Leta has also lost to Jaedong. He's also beaten Jaedong, and I would certainly love to see a Fantasy Jaedong rematch. And certainly, well, I would say Jaedong has proven himself to be a better player in Fantasy. Fantasy made a great showing against Jaedong in the last OSL final. So I'm not gonna complete the remark there. And it would be an exciting showing anyway. But I do think that Leta was certainly, well, I don't know. I think neither player would want to play Jaedong, to be honest, but Fantasy would be better off against Movie. Anyway, right now we're going to see Leta actually crossing the center of the map. Interesting little puddle jump there across the temples. And we're going to see actually a lull in the pace of the battle here, as both players build up very large armies and lots of dropships. Fantasy right now looks like he is on top 3 and 1-2 more, so he's on about 5, and the right side 6. Leta at maybe bottom 3 and maybe the right side, so 4 really for Leta, and Leta definitely needs new bases. He may have defended his expansions well and harassed well, but he's just so far down on bases that it's totally unsustainable unless he expands. And right now we're seeing Fantasy, wow, once again he's going to get dropped on, and this is a nice drop by Leta. Leta cleaning that up without losing much, and Leta has, I gotta say, Leta this game, hasn't been perfect with his dropships, but he's been playing better than Fantasy with his maneuverability. Fantasy has done a couple of drops, but mainly he's he's been able to do more annoying stuff, more main pushes, I guess, and managed to stop Leta from dropping. And Fantasy really just could have closed the game out, I feel, with that attack on the bottom left. Anyway, it's not over for either player, obviously. Fantasy now, though, is going to be the one on the defensive. Leta showing that he's very good with combined arms here. Definitely, this is about this matchup, really, Terran versus Terran, is pretty much the closest to real war combat, you know, in the 21st century than any of the other matchups, and certainly combined arms is a doctrine that has been around, you know, ever since the Second World War, really. So, you know, it's all about combining all those different forces you have. Anyway, Fantasy right now is going to get dropped on again, though, but Leta is going to face a counter drop that actually takes out Fantasies, and Leta actually going to lose a dropship in the process. That was a win for Fantasy. Certainly, actually, both players it could do with a couple of rates. I mean, the rates were so effective for Fantasy. Although I guess now with a lot of Goliaths out, they might not be as effective. In any case, though, Fantasy is going to see a new expansion trying to go up for Leta, and Leta is unable to take it. This is another win for Fantasy. Maybe I should take it back. Fantasy doing a good job there with his dropping. Leta just still desperately trying to defend, and this time Fantasy has got a very large force concentrated together. I think Fantasy's ground pushes have been very good this game. They've been just absolutely spot on, managing to catch weak points in Leta's defenses, and now he catches finally an open expansion again. Fantasy right now is on a roll here, but Leta has just been great in terms of counterattacking. He's not defending, he's always counterattacking instead of defending, and I guess the point is for Leta is that he doesn't want to have to play on Fantasy's terms in front of Fantasy's large army. He wants to attack where Fantasy is weakest and make Fantasy be the one who blinks first. And look at this, Leta just not even bothering with his defense on the right side, instead trying to attack Fantasy's left side. See, as you can see here, on the right side, Fantasy has taken the battle, but no, Leta is going to lose that battle on the left also. I think this is going to seal the game for Fantasy. I thought that counterattack would be a little more effective than it was, but I think Leta is going to be out of the fight. Yeah, there's no way. I think he knows it too. He's lost mining at that middle 3 o'clock or whatever position you want to call it. The middle base is completely lifted. Now he's going to lose mining at this left side. I didn't even know he had it. He just snuck it in there, and it's going to go down anyway to a couple of Goliaths and tanks, and Fantasy has definitely shown himself to be the master of multi-point attacks on the ground. Absolutely just brilliant with his maneuvers there, and certainly not poor with his air support. And Fantasy right now is the one who looks like he's going to win. Leta is going to go for the final push. Leta is not one to surrender early, of course. If you watch the game against Flash, you'll see that. Okay, I'll give it away. I mean, Flash wins, but it certainly is a great showing from both players. Fantasy right now is wow, is nuts. Fantasy still under attack. And by the way, Leta uses nukes. So yeah, nukes. So yeah, that's an incentive for you guys to watch it. Fantasy has still not taken out this base, though. This is one thing that Fantasy's got to work on. Even if he wins this game, he's got to work on, like, actually taking out stuff instead of just sieging right next to it. Oh my god! SCV's managing to... Oh my god, SCV's managing to kamikaze themselves and take out, like, 4 tanks in the process, just from the splash damage. That they managed to get the tanks to shoot on each other and do. So Fantasy definitely, you know, definitely facing the stiffest resistance that Leta can throw up, but he is going to win the game. Leta is just doing this really for pride here, and it's unfortunate to see Leta have to defend to the end, you know, and fight to the end and lose. But certainly it's good for the Fantasy fans. I would say I'm very neutral between these two players. Oh, but look at this. Fantasy is going to be going for some battle cruisers. Certainly, not only as a useful unit, but also as just a little thumb in the nose to Leta, saying the game is over. You are completely behind, and if you continue, you're going to get pwned by battle cruisers. GG coming from Leta, finally, and well played by both players, I gotta say. Highly respectable game, and very few mistakes. Fantasy showing in the end that his aggressiveness and his tactical maneuvering managed to be superior than Leta's better, perhaps, mechanics in the game, or at least slightly better dropship play. I mean, and also certainly better defensive abilities than Fantasy sometimes could deal with. But in the end, defense is not what wins a game. Fantasy showing that even a sometimes ineffectively done offense is better than an overall defense, I think. And certainly he could have pulled it off a little bit better, especially on the bottom left, but in the end it didn't matter. He won the game. So for those of you who watched Game 2, you know, you know what? I'm not going to spoil it. Some of you guys may not have seen Game 2, so just move on to Game 3, which is going to be Fantasy versus the winner of Game 2. Do check both those games out. Thank you guys for watching. Cholera signing out.